Snow fell like tiny knives across the ruined city of Varkun. Broken streets, collapsed buildings, and frozen debris made the place feel like the world had ended. Only a few desperate figures moved through the ice, hunting for warmth, food, or anything that could keep them alive another night. Among them, Amara struggled, holding her daughter Lyra close. The little girl was wrapped in a thin, torn coat, shivering so violently that Amara's heart ached with every tremble. Amara had tried to stay strong. She had scavenged for days, searching abandoned buildings, avoiding other desperate humans who might take what little she had. But tonight was different. The cold was harsher, deeper, and hunger gnawed at their stomachs with a cruelty she had never known. She had promised herself she would protect Lyra no matter what, but now she wondered if promises were enough to fight the freezing night. Lyra's small lips were blue, her tiny hands stiff in her coat. "Mama, I'm cold," she whispered, her voice breaking. Amara forced a smile, though her teeth chattered. "I know, little star. I'm here. Mama will keep you safe." But even she knew that might not be true. Amara had heard rumors of people who would trade anything for a blanket, food, or fire. She had resisted. She had fought against despair, telling herself that she would survive, that she would find a way. But now, standing in the frozen alley, she felt herself bending under the weight of impossible choice. A figure appeared through the falling snow. Amara squinted, trying to see if it was human or something else. Her vision blurred from tears and exhaustion. The stranger stopped a few feet away, studying them in silence. Amara's heart pounded and a shiver ran down her spine that had nothing to do with the cold. She swallowed, shaking. I can give you just one night," she whispered, her voice almost lost to the wind. "One night with me, and you can take her, use her for warmth. Keep her with you." Lyra's eyes went wide with fear.
"Mama, what are you saying?"
Amara's throat tightened. She could barely look at her daughter. She wanted to explain, but there were no words that could make this sound right. She thought of the frost on Lyra's fingers, the hunger in her stomach, the terror in her eyes. She thought of the cold that could take her daughter if she did nothing. Desperation clawed at her, and her heart broke in a way that made her dizzy with shame and fear. The stranger remained silent for a moment, just watching. Then unexpectedly, a deep, calm voice broke the wind. "No, I will not take her." "Not like that," Amara froze, staring at the figure. "Then, what can I do?" The stranger stepped closer, extending a hand, warm and alive. "Come with me. Both of you. There is a place where you can be safe. You do not have to trade anyone for warmth." Amara blinked, disbelieving. The snow beat against her face, biting and harsh as if testing her.
Why would you help us?"
"Because you are human," the stranger said softly. "Humans help each other. That's what we do." Amara looked at Lyra, at the little girl whose life depended on her, and felt something she hadn't in weeks. Hope. For the first time, she imagined warmth without giving away her child. She imagined safety that didn't require despair. Her heart, heavy with fear and shame, felt a spark of something new. Trust. Lyra clung to her mother, shivering but wide-eyed. Amara wrapped her arms tighter around her daughter and nodded. "Okay, we will follow you," she whispered. "We will try." The stranger smiled faintly and gestured toward the dark streets beyond. "Then let's move. There's a home for humans like you. You'll be safe there." Amara's chest felt tight, but there was a strange warmth inside her. For the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't feel completely alone. Together, the three of them disappeared into the snowy night, leaving fear and despair behind, chasing the faint light of hope that humans carried even in the coldest, darkest places. The street stretched endlessly in icy silence as the stranger led Amara and Lyra through the ruined city. Every step was heavy with exhaustion, every gust of wind biting at their skin. Amara's arms ached from holding Lyra, but she didn't dare let go. She kept her daughter close, heart pounding, praying they would survive this long journey. Lyra's small fingers clutched her mother's coat. "Mama, my hands are freezing," she whispered. Her voice trembled not just from cold but from fear. Amara looked down at her daughter, a pang of guilt and helplessness twisting in her chest. "I know, little star, I know. But we are almost there. Just a little longer," she murmured, trying to sound braver than she felt. Inside, she was terrified. She had spent so long surviving alone, believing the world was cruel and humans selfish. But something about this stranger's calm, unhurried presence made her dare to hope. Hours passed, the snow relentless, the cold deep and merciless. Amara's fingers were numb, her feet frozen, but Lyra's trust in the stranger gave her a fragile strength. Finally, a warm glow appeared ahead, a small building with light spilling from its windows like a beacon. Amara's heart leapt. She could feel warmth already even before they stepped inside. The stranger opened the door and the warmth inside wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. The scent of cooked food, wood smoke, and human presence filled the space. Amara's knees felt weak, but she managed to carry Lyra inside. Inside, humans moved calmly, attending to chores, talking quietly, caring for one another. Children laughed softly as they played, and adults shared food and blankets without a hint of greed. Amara's eyes widened. She had expected fear, violence, or cold indifference, but not this, not care, not kindness. "You can rest here," the stranger said, his voice gentle. "No one will harm you. You will not have to make cruel choices anymore." Amara's chest tightened. She looked at Lyra, who had already curled up in a soft blanket, eyes wide and amazed. "Mama, it's warm here. I'm safe," Lyra whispered, her small face bright with relief. Amara knelt beside her daughter, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. She held Lyra close, feeling the steady rise and fall of her tiny chest. I almost gave you away," she whispered, shame thick in her voice. The stranger's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. "You did what you thought you had to survive. But now you don't have to. You can stay. Both of you. You can live without fear." For the first time in weeks, Amara allowed herself to believe it, to hope. Her heart, heavy with exhaustion and guilt, felt a little lighter. Maybe survival didn't always require sacrifice of the soul. Maybe being human meant more than just enduring hardship. Lyra looked up at the stranger. "Will we always be safe here?" she asked, her voice small but hopeful. "Yes," he said softly. "Here, humans help each other. That is what we do. You are not alone anymore." Amara hugged her daughter tighter, feeling the warmth seep into her bones. She watched other humans move with purpose and care, sharing what they had, protecting one another. It was a world she had never imagined, where strength came not from cruelty or selfishness, but from love and cooperation. That night, Amara let Lyra sleep in a proper bed for the first time in what felt like forever. She sat beside her daughter, watching her peaceful face, and whispered promises she had never dared to voice aloud. She would never let the world take Lyra from her. She would protect her at all costs, not out of desperation but out of love. Outside, the snow continued to fall, white and harsh. Inside, the warmth of the shelter wrapped around Amara and Lyra. For the first time in a long while, they felt the fragile, comforting certainty that maybe, just maybe, humans could be the light in the coldest darkness. The next morning, Amara woke to the sound of voices, soft, cheerful human voices. She opened her eyes to find the shelter alive with activity. People moved with purpose, caring for one another, sharing food, distributing blankets. Children ran through the rooms, laughing and shouting, their joy a sound she hadn't heard in months. Amara felt a strange emotion swell inside her, amazement, disbelief, and a cautious hope. She had expected humans to be selfish, cruel, ready to fight over scraps. Instead, she saw kindness, cooperation, and patience. Every action seemed deliberate, not out of fear or greed, but out of care for others. Lyra sat up in her small bed, rubbing her eyes. "Mama, everyone here is happy," she whispered. Her small face reflected wonder and relief. They help each other." Amara nodded slowly, tears pricking her eyes. "Yes, little star, they do. And we can be part of it too." The stranger who had brought them in approached, carrying a small basket of food. "Eat," he said gently, placing it before them. "You need strength, both of you. There is work to do, but it is not like the streets. Here, humans take care of each other. That is how we survive." Amara took the food with trembling hands. She hadn't felt the comfort of a proper meal in weeks. Every bite was a taste of something she had almost forgotten: normal life, safety, and human warmth. Lyra ate quickly, eyes bright, cheeks flushed with warmth and excitement. As the day passed, Amara explored the shelter, watching humans interact. They laughed together, argued and resolved disagreements calmly, and shared everything they had. Some tended to the children, others repaired clothing, and still others cooked or cleaned. Every task was done with care, without haste. without cruelty. Amara couldn't help but compare it to the streets outside. The cold, the fear, the constant struggle for survival. Here, survival was not about taking from others or hurting anyone. It was about protecting, helping, and giving. She felt something inside her change, a fragile seed of trust and belief that humans could rise above fear and selfishness. One of the older women noticed her staring. "You are new," she said kindly. "Do not worry. You will find your place here. Every human has a role, and every human belongs, even those who have almost lost hope." Amara's chest tightened. She thought of all the nights she had wandered the frozen city, holding Lyra and wondering if they would survive until morning. She thought of the moment she had almost offered her daughter to the cold, desperate and broken. And now, she was here, alive, safe, and not alone. Lyra ran to join a group of children, her laughter ringing through the shelter. Amara watched her, feeling a deep, unshakable love. She had promised to protect her daughter, and now she could do so without fear or compromise. The stranger returned, sitting beside her. "You will see," he said softly. "This is what humans do. Even in the harshest worlds, we care for each other. That is our strength. Not the cold, not the hunger, not even the fear. Our strength is in how we lift one another." Amara's eyes filled with tears. I never knew," she whispered. "I thought humans were only about surviving. I never thought this is human," he replied simply. "The best part. And now you can be part of it too." For the first time, Amara allowed herself to imagine a future beyond mere survival. A future where she could smile without fear, where Lyra could laugh without trembling, and where the cold, cruel streets could no longer claim them. Humanity, she realized, was not just in surviving, but in helping, protecting, and loving. As the sun dipped behind the snowy horizon, Amara held Lyra close. She whispered promises to herself and her daughter, not of endurance, but of life. Together, they would learn the strength of humans, the courage of kindness, and the warmth that could shine even in the darkest, coldest nights. And for the first time in months, hope felt real. Even in the warmth of the shelter, Amara could not escape the shadow of the past. Nights were the hardest. When the lights dimmed and the children slept, her mind drifted back to that frozen alley, to the moment when desperation had almost forced her to do something no mother should ever consider. She sat by Lyra's bed, brushing the little girl's hair back from her face. The soft rise and fall of her breathing made Amara's heart ache. I almost gave you away," she whispered into the quiet room, shame thick in her voice. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she recalled the cold, the hunger, and the hopelessness that had pressed her to the edge. Lyra stirred and opened her eyes, blinking sleep away. "No, Mama," she said softly, clutching her mother's hand. "You didn't. You saved me. That's what matters." Amara choked on a sob, relief and guilt twisting together in her chest. Her daughter's trust was a fragile gift, and she had almost betrayed it. She felt the weight of that near mistake pressing down on her, and yet she could not undo it. All she could do now was protect Lyra with everything she had left. The stranger, who had become a quiet presence in the background of her days, noticed her tears and joined her. He sat beside Amara, offering no words at first, only the steady warmth of his presence. After a while, he spoke softly. "The past is a shadow," he said. "It follows us, yes, but shadows do not define us. You have chosen differently now. You are choosing love instead of fear. That is what matters." Amara nodded, but the shame lingered. "I failed her. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself." "You already are," he said. "By bringing her here, by surviving, by choosing to protect her instead of giving in to despair. That is forgiveness. That is human." Amara looked at Lyra, curled up in the blanket, safe and warm. Her heart ached, but slowly she began to understand. Being human was not about perfection. It was about choice, choosing compassion over desperation, love over fear. That was what had saved them. The days that followed were easier, though the past never fully disappeared. Amara began to take small steps toward healing. She helped care for other children, prepared meals, and repaired clothing with the other humans in the shelter. Each act of care reminded her that she was not alone, that humanity could be more than survival. It could be hope. It could be strength. It could be kindness. Lyra thrived in this new environment. She laughed freely, made friends, and ran through the halls of the shelter without fear. Amara watched her daughter and felt a warmth bloom in her chest that no cold could touch. She realized that even the darkest moments could not erase the possibility of light. One evening, Amara held Lyra close and whispered, "We were lucky, little star. We were given a chance. A chance to be safe, to be human in a way I never imagined." Lyra smiled sleepily, her small hand resting on Amara's cheek. "I knew you would keep me safe, Mama," she murmured. "Always." Amara pressed her forehead to Lyra's, tears streaming silently. She felt the promise of protection, of love, and of hope settle in her heart. She understood now that the shadow of the past was only as strong as the choices she let it define. She would not let it define her. That night, as the shelter glowed warmly and the snow fell silently outside, Amara felt a quiet determination rise within her. She would face the world not with fear, not with desperation, but with courage and compassion. For Lyra, for herself, for the humans who had shown her what it truly meant to be human. And for the first time in months, she believed that maybe, just maybe, they could build a life where warmth and kindness could triumph over cold and despair. The warmth of the shelter had become a comfort, but Amara knew life outside was never truly safe. One night, that danger arrived without warning. The sound of breaking doors echoed through the halls, followed by shouting and the harsh clatter of heavy boots. Amara froze, clutching Lyra tightly. Her heart pounded, her breath catching in her throat. "Mama, what's happening?" Lyra whispered, eyes wide with fear. "They're intruders," Amara whispered back, trying to steady her voice. "Stay close to me, little star." The strangers stormed into the room, demanding food, supplies, and any valuables. Chaos erupted. Children screamed, adults shouted, and the cold, violent world Amara had fought so hard to escape seemed to have followed them here. The stranger, who had saved them, stepped forward, standing between the invaders and the people in the shelter. "No one harms these humans," he shouted, his voice steady but commanding. Others quickly joined him, forming a line to protect the children and the weak. Amara's fear surged, but she could not remain passive. She glanced at Lyra, sleeping soundly under a blanket, trusting her mother completely. That trust was a lifeline. With determination igniting inside her, she moved, guiding children to safety, locking doors, and helping the adults block entrances. She felt a strange power she hadn't known she possessed. The strength of desperation, yes, but also the courage born from love. She was no longer just surviving. She was protecting, fighting for life, for humanity. Every step she took reminded her that humans were not defined by fear, but by their courage to stand for each other. The intruders were relentless, but the community of humans in the shelter fought with unity and heart. Amara joined in, her small hands and quick mind helping wherever she could. She guided frightened children to secure rooms, helped lift supplies, and comforted the terrified. Each act, though small, mattered. Hours passed like minutes. The struggle was exhausting, but slowly the invaders began to retreat. The humans did not chase them. They only defended, held fast, and protected one another. When the last intruder fled into the night, silence fell over the shelter. It was broken only by quiet sobs and the sound of children being reassured. Amara sank to the floor, exhausted but alive. She held Lyra close, feeling the steady beat of her daughter's heart against her own. Relief, gratitude, and pride swirled in her chest. They had survived not just by hiding or running, but by standing together. She realized with clarity what the stranger had shown her: humanity's true strength, I in compassion, unity and courage even in the face of danger. The stranger approached, his eyes calm but serious. "You did well," he said softly. "You helped protect life, not just your own. That is what humans do. That is what makes us strong." Amara nodded, tears blurring her vision. She thought of the night she had almost offered Lyra to the cold, the weight of despair that had nearly broken her. And now she had faced a real threat, not with fear alone, but with courage and love. She had chosen humanity over desperation, protection over surrender. Lyra stirred in her arms, opening her eyes and smiling faintly. "Mama, we're safe?" she asked, voice trembling but hopeful. "Yes, little star," Amara whispered, brushing back her daughter's hair. "We are safe. And no one will take that from us. Not ever." That night, as snow continued to fall outside, Amara held Lyra close. The shelter was quiet, warm and alive with human determination. Amara understood more clearly than ever that being human was not just surviving, it was standing together, protecting each other, and finding strength in love even in the darkest, most dangerous nights. And for the first time, she knew they could survive anything because humans, together, were unstoppable. Days turned into weeks, and the shelter began to feel like home. Amara found herself waking to the smell of warm bread, the chatter of humans working together, and the laughter of children running through the halls. The fear that had once gripped her chest so tightly began to loosen, replaced by something she had almost forgotten: hope. She watched Lyra play with the other children, her small face lit with joy. The little girl's laughter rang through the rooms, pure and carefree, a sound that made Amara's heart swell with relief. Lyra's safety and happiness became the anchor that held her, the reason she could breathe without constant dread. Amara herself found work in the shelter, helping with cooking, cleaning, and caring for those too weak or too old to help themselves. Each task reminded her of the simple truth the stranger had shown her: humanity thrived not by taking from others, but by lifting each other up. Each small act of kindness, every shared meal, every comforting word was a building block of survival stronger than any weapon or strategy she had known on the streets. The humans of the shelter were not perfect. They argued, sometimes grew frustrated, and even made mistakes. But Amara noticed something incredible. They always returned to care, to understanding, to cooperation. That simple resilience amazed her. It was not strength born from fear or cruelty. It was strength born from connection, from shared humanity. One evening, as the sun set beyond the snow-covered ruins, Amara sat with Lyra by the fire. The little girl leaned against her mother, eyes heavy with sleep but glowing with contentment. "Mama, I like it here," she whispered. "I feel safe, happy." Amara kissed the top of her daughter's head, feeling warmth flood through her chest. "I like it too, little star. Here, we can be ourselves. We can live. And we will always protect each other." The stranger, now a quiet mentor and guide in her life, approached them. "You have done well, Amara," he said softly. "You have grown stronger, not just in body but in heart. You are no longer a woman haunted by the past. You are a human who chooses courage, love, and hope. That is what matters." Amara nodded, tears glimmering in her eyes. I never imagined life could be like this. I thought the world was only harshness and fear. But now I see humans are capable of so much more. We can care, protect, and love, and that is what makes us strong." Lyra stirred in her sleep and mumbled, "Mama, I'm glad we're together." Amara held her daughter tightly, feeling a fierce determination rise inside her. Together they would face any hardship, any danger. Together they would grow, laugh, and live. She realized that belonging wasn't just about having a safe place. It was about finding people who reflected your best self, who inspired hope, who made life worth living. In the days that followed, Amara became an active part of the shelter community. She guided new arrivals, comforted frightened children, and shared her own story when appropriate, not as a tale of despair, but as a testament to human resilience and compassion. She saw the power of humans standing together, lifting one another through fear and hardship. Amara finally understood the truth she had almost forgotten on the cold streets. Humanity was not about surviving alone. It was about rising above desperation, helping others, and finding strength in love. It was about building a world where children could laugh without fear, where hope could flourish even in the darkest winters. That night, as snow fell gently outside and the fire crackled in the hearth, Amara held Lyra close. She whispered to her daughter, "We are human, little star, strong, kind, brave humans, and together, we will shine." For the first time in what felt like forever, Amara truly believed it. The snow outside had slowed to a gentle fall, blanketing the ruined city in soft white. Inside the shelter, warmth and light filled every corner. Amara sat beside the fire, watching Lyra sleep peacefully, her small chest rising and falling with steady, even breaths. It had been months since they had known such comfort. Months since fear had ruled their lives. Amara's mind drifted back to that night in the alley, the night she had almost made the choice that would have changed everything forever. She shivered, not from cold, but from the memory of desperation that had once pressed down on her chest. She had nearly given her daughter away for a blanket for survival. But now, sitting in the glow of warmth, watching Lyra's serene face, she understood how far they had come. The stranger approached, carrying a tray of food. He smiled softly, a calm presence that had guided them through so much. "You have done well, Amara," he said quietly. "Not just surviving, but becoming human in the truest sense. Protecting, caring, and loving, that is strength. That is what makes us human." Amara nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I never knew humans could be this kind, this strong. I thought survival was only about fighting, taking, or giving up. But now, I see there is more. There is hope. There is love. There is humanity." The stranger set the tray down and knelt beside her. "And you have embraced it. You have chosen to rise above fear, to protect your daughter, to help others. That is why humans endure. That is why we survive even the harshest worlds." Amara looked down at Lyra, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Little star," she whispered, "we were given a second chance. We can live. We can be happy, and we can be part of something bigger than ourselves. We are human, and that is our strength." Lyra stirred, opening her eyes. She blinked sleepily at her mother, then smiled. "Mama, we are safe, right?" "Yes, my star," Amara said, holding her daughter tightly. Safe, warm, and loved. Always. The warmth of the shelter felt like a promise. Amara knew that outside, the world could still be harsh and cruel. But here, among humans who cared for each other, she had learned the ultimate lesson. Strength was not in fear, not in survival alone, but in compassion, unity, and courage. That was humanity. That was what made them capable of rising above despair. Days turned into weeks, and Amara and Lyra became integral parts of the shelter. They laughed, worked, shared stories, and helped newcomers find safety and warmth. Amara discovered a resilience she had never known, a courage born not from necessity but from love. Lyra grew stronger, happier, and unafraid to embrace life. One evening, as the snow glittered like silver under the pale moonlight, Amara stood at the doorway, holding Lyra's hand. They looked out at the city, broken and cold, but for the first time it did not feel threatening. Instead, it felt like a world full of possibilities. Worlds where humans could lift each other, protect one another, and shine even in darkness. Amara bent down, pressing her forehead to Lyra's. "We have survived the worst, little star," she whispered. "And now, we will thrive. Together always." Lyra hugged her mother tightly, a small but fierce declaration of trust and love. Amara returned the embrace, feeling a warmth deeper than any fire. She realized that survival was only the beginning. True strength, true humanity was in hope, compassion, and courage, and in choosing every day to protect and uplift those you love. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Amara allowed herself to smile without fear. Together they had faced the cold, hunger, and despair, and they had come through not broken, but stronger. And as they turned toward the warmth of the shelter, Amara knew one truth above all. Humans, even in the darkest, harshest worlds, could rise above fear and cruelty. Humans could choose kindness, courage, and love. Humans could shine, and they would. In that moment, with Lyra safe in her arms and the community of humans around her, Amara understood the greatest lesson of all. Humanity was not just survival. It was hope. It was strength. It was the light that could never be extinguished, even in the coldest night. And for the first time, she believed they would never let it fade.